sign language itself. I mean, it has its own meaning, it has its own feeling, it has its own, structure, grammar, everything.
The best thing about this play was actually achieving a clear distinction between different modalities of sign language. We have BSL, British Sign Language, Sign Supported English, Visual Vernacular, and Methodical Sign Language.
It's not just a straight translation into sign language.
Classical subject? One definition of classical is that it has stood the test of time.
We would come up with a translation that we would all agree. And then when we saw it in context, it didn't make sense.
So this was a fascinating short about people working to translate and perform a multilingual play. The play was about the history of bringing sign language education to the deaf in America. There were lots of informative interviews. Most of the people were signing. Apparently, there has been an ongoing debate between oralist ways to teach the deaf versus sign language. I love the footage of the many people in a conference room debating translation, working at a staged reading, and then presenting the final polished play. Well done, provocative
Very
film.
interesting dive into sign language in the history of UK and the different types of sign language that are available. I liked how they talk about the artistic expression and the education for making this more inclusive and how we need an evolution of accessibility. It is a very interesting concept. I love to see this play, and I'm glad I know about this now.
The small clips of the stage performance are interesting to watch, but the real highlight of the film is the collaborative nature between the actors as they work together to create this performance. I feel like all actors work together to create this performance, but I felt like every piece, every word, every motion was something that everyone in the group had an opinion and was able to shape and help mold of. As I mentioned previously, ASL is not just a direct one-to-one translation. There's dialects, there's certain connotations from one sign to the next that you have to be mindful of, especially when you are dealing with a film that is very heavily centered about and for the in large part for the deaf community. Constantly refining and tweaking dialogue so the two languages can melt and enhance each other. The audience feedback at the end was a delightful touch that allowed me to see how much a performance can resonate with others. And then also it was really enlightening to see how other people who just came to watch the performance felt and how they gleaned from it, especially seeing how much work the actors put in behind the scenes to make everything happen.
This is a wonderful piece, and the topic that they're covering is obviously just extraordinary. I work in broadcast news. I have a background in that, and I've worked on some stories concerning Gallaudet University, so I was familiar with the work there. But dramatizing his story and with Claire, is a wonderful thing because just generally speaking, it's good general knowledge that people should have. But to learn about all the nuance of it, you think about the wonder of ASL and BSL as being modern created languages that are in regular use, throughout the world. It's a fascinating thing. And that they're doing this play and that they're translating to sign and people are going to be understanding the differences between English and written and signed. It's, that's a wonderful thing just for general knowledge, but it also opens us up to whole new avenues of understanding and empathy for people, that are at different walks of life from us. And to see, hearing and non-hearing people working together, collaborating in this workshop environment to create a dramatic stage show is just an absolutely astounding and wonderful thing. I really, really hope they get this show off the ground and that it does well. And I hope this documentary piece gets out and gets seen because it's a wonderful work and it looks like a very good play. The actors are doing a wonderful job on it. The directors, everybody involved, So I wish success to this team. I really hope this gets out there and does well for them.
What an interesting film. I just this past year have been exposed to some more programming around the deaf community, around signing and sign language. And so it's already something that's been a little bit on my radar, but getting to see a documentary that was about a play that was about the history of sign language really got me thinking about the way that, sign language is its own language. It has its own syntax. It has its own culture. All languages come with cultural assumptions and norms attached with them, and sign language is no different. So thinking about the origins of sign language and the way that started was very thought-provoking for me. And I appreciated getting to see a little bit behind the curtain, the way that the collaborators, the director who was hearing, and then some of the performers were hearing, some were deaf, seeing the way that collaborative process happened in a way that was very mindful and hopefully theoretically very empowering for the deaf folks who were involved and for the deaf people who ultimately ended up seeing this stage reading of this play. I think that at a time, especially now when live theater is so compromised and so hard to come by because of all the restrictions with COVID and everything, seeing people in a room together, focusing on a theatrical production, and really not worrying about all the other technical stuff, not worrying about making it fancy, really just concerning themselves with the essence of telling the story in the most humanly accessible way possible. That felt very moving to me, and it also really was very thought-provoking to just consider the history not only of sign language but of language in general, and the way that the intersection between language and culture and people getting to feel empowered and expressing themselves is such an important thing to just be aware of and think of and talk about. So very impactful film.
I really liked that they started with the play and then they moved on and kind of explained the importance of it and why they were working so hard to make sure that the translation was correct and that everyone was happy and that it did in fact translate correctly the way that they wanted it to. But I liked that they started with a clip of the play going on, and then they went back and kind of covered the background information, because immediately I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to know more, and then they explained the more to me. So I really liked how they kind of set everything up, because it hooked my curiosity, and then it actually went through and explained everything in a really thorough way, and it was definitely new information for me personally. So I really appreciated how they kind of set everything up. It was really well done from a storytelling perspective.
Documentaries is to be exposed to something we didn't know about, and this is something I had no idea about, the fact that there's all these different languages in the sign language, and just all the work that goes into bringing a performative art form, theater, to an audience through correct intention, and translated that through sign language. Just a fascinating subject, and I thought it was very well brought to us through this short documentary. It's fascinating. It made me want to learn more, and especially I'd be very interested in seeing this production. I would, I'd love to see this on the stage. So, bravo, well done, and thank you.
I wanted so badly to go out and see this performance for myself. I still do. It's amazing to see deaf voices elevated on the stage as well as on the screen through this documentary. And I feel that we need to see more work like this, where people who know how to tell certain kinds of stories are put at the forefront to tell those stories, because they can do it the best and most authentically. And I think it's best exemplified through the documentary, everyone that's interviewed in it, and through the play itself.